All right, so again, we put in this line. That's creating our new variable that we're going to do an app.use on, and we're telling it where that lives. Does all that make sense? All right. It's kind of a big name, validation middleware. We could have called it just validate or whatever, but that's fine. So now if I save this, if I go back, first of all, it didn't break anything. That's good. I'm a lot further ahead than I was before. All right. And second of all, when I come back now and I run this, I think I already showed you this, but if I come in and I try to do a new post and I don't put anything in there and I click send, it just sends me right back again. Actually, it's sending me back to the home page. All right. Does that make sense? All right. Now that we've had this little interlude, all right, I want you to take a look up on the screen here. And I think you'd agree. When we start looking at this, it's not that that's that much, but we're talking, what, 28 through 64. So that's about 36 lines of code. Some of these routines are bigger than others. Some of them are very short. All right. For instance, the contact is short. The post itself is short, the about is short, etc. But what we're going to do, because we so far have been working on the model part of Model View Controller, and we've worked on the view part of Model View Controller, but we haven't worked on the controller part of Model View Controller. Now, what we did in our earlier exercises is we made a controller folder and basically just threw everything in there, that's okay to do that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with doing that, okay? But there are really better ways, all right, of doing this. So I'm going to show you an example of what I mean. Let's go, I don't know, let's go to the, let's go to this one, all right? This is pretty small. App.get post new. I'm going to grab that code that you see right here. I'm going to grab that code. I'm just going to copy it to the clipboard for now. All right? So everything that's in there. And then I'm going to go in and in my controllers folders, I got a lot of stuff open here. Let's see if I can close some of it. All right. In my controllers folder, I'm going to come in here. And what do we say that was? That was post new. All right. So in other words, it's where I'm making a new post. I think you'd agree with that. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new file in my controllers folder, and I'll call it new post controller.js. All right. Now I'm going to make some changes to it. Just so you know, I'm about to make some changes to it. But for now, I'm going to paste in. Well, I thought I copied it. Maybe I didn't. What we had just copied, or what I told you to copy. So everything from server.js, I'm going to copy this. Control-C. Go over to my new post controller. And Control-V to paste it in. Now, we do it like this is not going to work. Just so you know, it is not going to work. But we can just make a couple fairly small changes in here. All right? And really all we have to do is we have to change this app.get. So everything that's in here, all this right there, that gets replaced with module.exports equals that. Now, don't worry, we're going to get, if any errors or anything come up, we're going to fix them in just a second. All right? All right. So we've got module.exports, okay, and we still want to render the res.create like we're doing. That create post, we can leave it in there. It's something we're going to use, just not this second. All right? And I think, I'm looking at it, I think I've got an error in my code, but that's okay, we'll fix it. I think it needs that. All right? So module.exports equal, and everything is now encompassed in here. So you might say, exactly what did we gain from that? Imagine that we're a site more like Amazon, where we literally have hundreds of links in different places that you can go to. We can now take and put each one of those in its own route. Now, in order to do that, that's totally fine. And I think it'll work. I don't think it broke anything. So if I come back here, I'm just going to check. It didn't break anything. Well, that's good. I mean, that's always a good start. But now I got to go back to server.js. I don't need this anymore, but I have to replace it with something. All right? So I'm just going to delete what's in there. Now, my program might break right now, so I'm not going to even look at it. All right? But I have to just put in 2 lines of code. First is I'm going to put in a new constant in here. And you can call it whatever you want, but I just called it new post controller because that's what it is. And equals require dot slash controllers slash new post controller. Just like that. Let me get rid of that so you got some room there. All right. So that's the first thing. All right. But then we change our app.get. So our app.get slash posts slash new. And now what we're telling it is when you get there, call that new post controller. So do you see what we've done? All right. We didn't buy much here because this is such a small little thing. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. We cut it down from 4 lines to 2 lines. I mean, that's not really that big a thing when you look at it. But what I'm going to ask that you try to do is to go in and change all of these. All right, so I want you to pull every route out that you've got. So let's take a look at another one. All right. So here's our home route, right? Everybody agree? That's our home route right there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, our whole home route there. I'm going to go back into our controllers folder. And I'm going to again right mouse click on there on the controllers folder and do new file. What do you want to call it? Well, since it's my home controller, I'm going to call it home controller.js. If you would rather call it index controller.js, you could do that too. It's no biggie. All right. And now I'm going to come in and just like we did before, I'm going to say, whoops, sorry, hold on, there. Module.exports equal. All right. And now that we have this, now we don't need that right there. Okay. So we've, again, put this in its own file. Does that make sense? All right. So you didn't make many changes. We got rid of the app.get and we changed it to this, the module exports equal, and we didn't need another paren. I guess we could have put a paren here and left the one there if we wanted to, but there, I mean, it wasn't necessary. All right. So now we've got that. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go back into my server file. Now we don't need this one anymore. All right. And we just put in these 2 lines, right? We just put these 2 in. I'm going to copy those because it's going to be almost the same thing. And I'm going to paste those in, and I'm going to say const home controller equal require controllers home controller, and app.get, it's just the slash now, and that's home controller. You see how we're taking what's in here and we're kind of, for lack of better words, thinning out what's inside of our server.js file? We are actually doing more segregation, you could almost say, because we are taking our routes and we're moving them out to their own area. We've already taken our views and they're in their own area. Our model is in its own area, but we're going to add another schema to that tomorrow. All right? Is there anything I just did that doesn't make sense? And again, you can look at this, and we can look in here and say, I've mentioned this to you before. Do we really need an about page for this? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying we do or don't. I'm just saying, do we really need one? All right? And I'm come to the conclusion that we don't. So this route in here for about, I'm going to get rid of the route. Okay? I just literally got rid of that route. Well, since I got rid of that route, I sure as heck better go back in my, where am I here? In my, no, come on, where are you? Yeah, up here. You're right, it is views, but I got so darn much stuff open here. All right. So in my views, I've got to go back to my nav bar under my layouts, because in my nav bar, that's where I've got the route for the about page. All right, so I can get rid of this route. All right, so I didn't break anything. That's a good start. And now when I come back here and I bring my program back up, that about that's there, well, it should be gone. I'm not sure why it's not, but it should be gone. Do you understand what we just did? All right. So I don't think, like I said, we don't need an about anymore. Now I'm going to get an error because it can't find it. All right. I'm not sure why it's still there. It must be in some other place too. And that's, I'm not worried about it. We'll find out where that is. But the point is this. We don't really need an about, and I don't think we need a contact. All right. So we can at least get rid of both of those. Now, the thing is, let's say you disagree. All right. So Gabriel says, I don't agree with you. I want to keep the about page. Okay, then you keep the about page. It doesn't hurt anything, but what I'm telling you is look at this. If we take this page, let's just grab the contact one. If I take this and I move it from here and I put it into its own file, all right, then all I'm doing is I'm making a new file and I'm replacing 3 lines with 2 lines. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right. I'm just saying I'm not sure that if we even need this, period. That's, again, you may agree with that and you may disagree with that. Either way, it's totally fine. All right. So I'm getting rid of the contact too. And since I got rid of the contact, again, I'm going to go back to the nav bar. I'm going to find the contact here. And there that is. And I'm getting rid of that. All right, try to clean it up a little bit. So I'll have to take a look and see if I've got it anyplace else. All right, I mean, I've got this. I've still got contact.ejs, right? Got that whole file. I don't even need that file anymore. Would you agree with me? Everybody understand what I'm saying? Since I'm removing that, I'm going to get rid of that file. So I'm going to delete the file. And I also can delete the about.ejs. Oops, not that one. All right. Now again, like I said, if you disagree with what I just told you, there it is. So now it's just got home, sample, post, and new post, because I've gotten rid of the about page and I got rid of the contact page. Now I'm going to go over here to new post. And I'm right there. Okay, I'm going to go to home. Well, something's screwed. It looks like it's screwed up because it's still keeping me on post new. I'll have to look at that. All right. The point, though, is this. When you get done, the program should still run the same way that it's running. All we've done is move around where we put our routes. That's the only thing that we've changed in here. So our home controller, okay, that looks fine. Fine, yeah, that looks good. So let's go back to our server. And that was our home controller. I don't know, I've told it to go to slash. Home controller, controllers, home controller, home controller, home controller. And in here, I'm telling it to render everything. I'm trying to figure out in my own mind why that went wrong. So let's do a save here. Let's come back and do a save here. Let's do a save here. Stuff I don't need anymore, I'm going to try to close. Didn't break anything. In fact, I'm going to stop this and start it again. Right. Here and there. Just refresh. No, that's fine. Right. Unhandled promise. Blog post is not defined. Home controller 923. You know, as bad as this period's gone, it's as good as it went this morning. We went and we wrote 2 fairly complex JavaScript apps. Everybody got it. Everyone's ran. So I guess maybe I deserve this. I don't know. That. Nice. Oh, I know what it is, because it's there. So that. Don't think that's even needed here, but it's not going to hurt anything. It's all been running. So there's our home. There's our new post. Good. Okay, we're almost back. All right, let me show you what was wrong, so you can fix yours. All right. In order for the new post to be able to do its thing, it needed to know about blog post. We didn't let it know about blog post. Now, before you type that in, look at this too. All right. We are in the controllers folder. So we've got to go ... to jump out of the controllers folder to get back to our main folder. Then we got to go to models. So when you only put one period there, that means you're already under where you want to go. It's a relative path, relative to where you currently are. But ... means move up a level in the folder structure and then go. So we're saying, hey, you're in the controllers folder. All right, let me see how much of this I can close. So in other words, we're right here. Okay? So we'd say dot, dot, that brings us to right here. Does that make sense? So we're going from here to here. Then we're saying, all right, after you do that, what we want you to do is we want you to go over to models, which is right here, and then find blog post. All right? Now, I put it both under the home one and under the new post controller. I don't know if the home one even needs it or not. It's not going to hurt anything to put that there. And notice that it's put over and outside of the module.exports, because it's not really part of what we're exporting. All right? And I want to say one more thing about this. I was going to give you an example, but I thought probably I'd muck it up. But you can, a lot of times what programmers do is in the exports like this, they write their own functions to do whatever it is they want it to do. All right? Then they go back into their main program and they do an app.use and they bring in those functions. And you might say, big deal. Well, remember, all right, that's kind of how this works to begin with. What is this? Somebody went out and wrote a bunch of functions and a bunch of stuff so you could use it. They bundled it together and they put it someplace. All right, and it's in a common place, but it's a bunch of it's some JSON stuff that Express makes available to it. All we're doing is the same thing with our own stuff, is what I'm telling you. All right? So after you do that, you put that into the home, so make sure that your home controller looks like this, and make sure that your new post controller looks like this. Again, we're going to get to this. Don't worry about that.
Leave those up for a second.
It's going to probably be tomorrow, but we're going to get to that next. We're going to give us the ability to add a user. In fact, that's one of the things that we're going to end up putting. That's one of the things we're going to end up putting up in our menu, is new user. Okay? But once you do all that, and you save, and you've got everything saved, you should be able to go back to your regular program. All right? And right here, if I click home, it should bring you back to home like it was doing before. All right? And we can still do the same stuff, so I can click on a post, boom. I'm still not sure whether I got to check on that, but I'm not worried about it. All right? And again, I can go home and it gets me home. The difference is now, rather than having those routes for the home and the new post, rather than having those routes in my server.js file, they're under a controllers folder and they're in their own separate individual files. Does that make sense? Now, I want you to look at something here, because I'm going to ask that you try to do a couple of these on your own. So let's take a look at what we've got. All right? So we go back into server.js and what's left. All right? Well, this one, basically, if you go and move that one over, what are you going to have to put in there? Now think about this. Look at the screen. So, okay, let's just say I just copy this one. Okay, so I copy this, I come over there and I create a, single post or something like that controller. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to get rid of all this right here. I'm going to get rid of every bit of that and replace it with module.exports, right? Then I'm going to have to come back in here and put in a new constant for whatever I call it, and then I'll have to do this. Does that make sense? All right. And then it'll probably also need, because we're working with our posts, it'll probably need also that reference like we put in here to the model. But there's one or two other ones in here that when you look at them, let's see. That if we are ever doing anything in here, for example, let's pretend that this one right here, let's just say it's doing something with path. Okay, it's got the word path in here. Then not only are we going to have to create that, but we're going to have to say const path equal require path. So what I'm telling you is some of the information that we've taken for granted, by putting it all up in here, everything was hunky-dory, may or may not be hunky-dory anymore. When we start to bring stuff into our individual files, we may have to do that. All right? So what I'm saying is, I'd like you to do some work and see if you can change these. So you've got one here. You've got one, or you did that one. You've got one here. So that's just two of them I'm asking you to make changes to. And I'll do the same. All right, we can take a look at them, all of us, tomorrow. All right? Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go through my notes. So right now, because I haven't been talking that long, it's 25 minutes on here. But I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to see if I can fix that thing with the images. And if we can get that done, the idea behind today was I wanted to go through images, quickly go through middleware, and also go through writing our own controller stuff. All that makes sense? All right.
I can't figure out it says that.
I'll tell you what, let me pause this.